Hello, Ryan here, and welcome to Star Citizen Sunday. This is a weekly show which covers all of the news from the week just past. Be sure to subscribe if you like what you see, and let's get on with it. This week in Star Citizen, the Xenothreat mission goes live. We see all of the work that went into capital ships, including signed distance field shields, plus the latest monthly report is available. So this week's Inside Star Citizen begun looking at the work that went into bringing the capital ships into the persistent universe. Now they knew that capital ships would be the focal point for ship combat and don't want solo players to be able to take them down alone. They want it to be a coordinated group effort. So they wanted to ensure that they are not underpowered or overpowered. Now this required improving turret behavior to make sure that they attack the correct targets and are set to prioritize bombers or missiles as their targets rather than small fighters that won't really do much damage to them. Countermeasures were also worked on, making sure that they work properly, and you now need to fire enough of the countermeasures to actively hide your ship. Each capital ship has their appropriate behaviors. For example, the Idris will try to get its nose on the target as the railgun is its main weapon, whereas the Javelin will try and line itself up in a broadside fashion to allow its larger turrets to get on target together. Now it's quite impressive to see these ships in-game actually realigning themselves to be the most effective. So they also spent time working on audio and visual explosions, which do look and sound fantastic, but they definitely have room for improvement there, more audio, as it can feel a little lacking at times. Now they did say that they want to improve the AI target selection, as it can get overwhelmed when there's lots of ships to target, but having us play it, they said, is so helpful to the development process, and they are constantly adjusting stuff based on what they see. And next up, they say, is getting capital ships using their own missiles and torpedoes. Personally, I am quite blown away by how engaging it is to watch these two ships go toe to toe. You can actually see the tactics and maneuvers that the capital ships take to be as effective as possible. Obviously, it is not finished and there is a lot more that they can do, specifically for AI and getting more sounds in, but so far it is quite a feat that I hope CIG are proud of. Now what excites me most about all of this is just thinking about how it'll play out once we have physical damage, physical components, and each ship holding a full crew on board with engineers running around fixing up areas of the ship and trying to put out the fires, commanders and officers all working together to organize their fleet, and of course all the other crew members performing their roles. This is the first step to this, and it is only going to get better and better. The final segment for Inside Star Citizen was talking about signed distance field shields. Now this tech allows them to wrap the shield around the actual geometry of an object, like a ship. So ideal for shields, as they are far more efficient than the previous shield tech and a lot more accurate. Plus, they are a huge part of bringing capital ship combat to fruition. Now, one of the great features of SDF shields is that if part of the ship was to break off, the shield would then adjust to the new geometry of the ship. It also helps to allow for a greater range of visual effects to be applied, which you can see as you shoot them with various weapon sizes. So for example, a size 1 weapon will just be a very slight glimmer, whereas a size 10 cannon can make the shields wrap around half of the ship. They can also provide more feedback using the shields in a way of colour transitions based on the shield's health. So it's blue when it's perfect and red when it begins to deplete. Personally, I'm not a big fan of this. It's not a feature that I would want from a shield. If you're inside the ship, it's of no use to you having them light up, as your MFDs will tell you the health of your shields. All it really does is advertise to other players where they should shoot you, and I don't think that makes much sense for your own ship. Of course, it's fine for AI, although I would still prefer to not have it highlighting that either, and instead using scanners to see the shield's health of the enemy ship, and just rely on that information being transferred over communications. I think that would be a much better idea, and obviously would require more tactics and communication, but this is just my opinion. So with SDF shields, they can use different particle types to give more variety. They can actually adjust the distance of the SDF shield from the ship itself, which is very cool, and I would love to see the shields almost touching the surface so that you get this really nice sleek shimmering effect as it's hit, rather than it being further away from the actual geometry. In the future, they will implement the powering on and off, and over time, roll out the SDF tech to all the other ships. From there, they will then look into fleshing out more shield style variations, maybe per manufacturer or shield type, and obviously different species as well, so the Vanduul may have different shields to humans. Anyway, that was Inside Star Citizen. Pretty interesting this week. Let us move on. So on this week's Star Citizen Live, it was with the Weapons and Props content team. So the first question was, what can you tell us about the medical tools? They say they're currently working on medical gameplay, and in the near term, the plan is to release a multi-tool attachment and a standalone medical device. Now, the multi-tool attachment is much more simpler, and you'll gather more medical information on the subject using the dedicated tool, but for the multi-tool, you'll be able to heal someone else, pretty much like using a medipen at the moment, but for someone else. The dedicated tool is more advanced and uses a gel or goop, as they call it, and it will heal various injuries. For example, it could work as a painkiller to help someone keep moving to find more appropriate help, as well as having more advanced UI to let you know more about the injury at hand. And this tool will also look a lot more clinical, unlike the multi-tool. Now obviously this isn't the final finished version for medical gameplay, this is just the next step to get it working for healing other players, which will be a major step forward in the PU, but I do like that they'll have a multi-tool for simple medpen healing, and then a dedicated tool for more serious injuries. Later on there will be a more hands-on method of treating injuries using visual diagnoses, I don't know. But anyway, we know they're working on hospitals. These two new additions will definitely be a good step in the medical direction. Next question is, how has the process of creating weapons and props changed from before to what you do now? Now they say that they try to invest a lot more time in the concepting phase to help solve as many of the questions that they may have at the start, so the development team doesn't have to then discover these issues later down the line, so basically streamlining the process more and solving the regular issues as early as possible. They also talk with the animators a lot to make sure that they are all aware of how to help them for when it comes down to implementing and animations. This obviously has been refined throughout the course of development, so it's nice that they've got this proper streamlined process. Someone asked if we will see alien FPS weapons, and they say it is something that they really want to introduce, but right now they are building out standard weapons first, using human manufacturers and very much military manufacturers. And they will eventually work to create alien weaponry. They are very much looking forward to creating alien weapons, and will work with narrative especially to figure out what tech that particular species may have. Personally, we have some great weapons right now, very conventional, and some of them are quite sci-fi, but I'm also equally excited to see alien weaponry, and I 100% plan to steal a Vanduul lance. So someone asked why there is no leather on weapons, and they say it comes down to manufacturers and the current brands. Much of it is military spec, so they use more conventional materials, but when they do begin to branch into more civilian-made weapons, then they'll likely use more organic materials like pelts, felts, and leather. Someone asked when can we expect to get the weapon paint and skinning system, and they said that they are discussing this at the moment and how they want to scale the weapons pipeline to fill the amount of variation that they really want. For what they currently want, there is still a few technical challenges that they need to overcome, but they do want a lot more variation. And the questions are like, do they want to have material upgrades like leather? Do they want us to be able to apply artwork or engravings to the weapons? Preferably, they say they want a system that can be shared between ships, characters, and weapons to unify this full system. So there is still quite a bit to figure out, and personally I would love the idea of having engravings and being able to have a leather wrap on your stock. But obviously there will be more options as time progresses. Will weapons and tools have visible wear and tear? And they say that yes, this is the plan. They can already implement some of this now. For example, adjusting the weapon stats as the wear and tear increases. They just need the underlying systems to go with it. For example, what is causing the wear and tear and how will we be able to repair them? It'll also apply to the tools, not just the weapons. If you don't take care of them, the efficiency rates may decrease, misfires may occur, or for example, if you have problems with the battery, then you'll need to take it out, clean it, and put it back in again. Cosmetically, they say they are happy with the look of wear and tear, but they still need to discuss how biomes and environments will affect these items. Things like getting snow or dirt in the weapon from the environment. Right now the environments only apply to armors, but they will eventually apply to weapons and tools, and the props pipeline does actually include the visual environment application for when that system is ready to use it. Now I'm personally really looking forward to the wear, dirt and environmental effects for all of our gear, and when you combine that with physical inventories, If you bring a weapon to an environment and the weapon stops working or gets damaged, then obviously you'll be in trouble. So this will encourage more thoughtful planning and using specific weapons that are maybe more capable in certain environments over others. Next question is, are there plans for bigger melee weapons, more along the lines of Warhammer? They said, as it stands right now, it is not something that they are planning on. Massive melee weapons won't really make sense to the game or the feel of Star Citizen, but never say never, it's just not in the plans right now. Personally, I wouldn't really want to see Warhammer-style oversized weapons, as it would look pretty out of place in the Star Citizen world, but I would love to see some more swords and other items being used as weapons. Maybe it could be more civilian, frontier, handmade weapons that can be found, which are not generally sold to the public. Someone asked if we will get flamethrowers or advanced fire extinguishers. Now, they already have fire extinguishers, and right now they are looking into tools that players can keep on their loadout. Or, of course, they could just grab a fire extinguisher found within the environment. Now, flamethrowers have been talked about in the past. At the moment, they are more focused on tackling fires rather than starting them. I would personally love a flamethrower. I think it would be very alien in theme. But they also said that currently the ships don't have a fire suppression system outside of opening an airlock. But this is something that they would probably work out over time. Next question is, will we be able to recover subscriber or concierge items and weapons if we lose them? Now, they say the plan is to use the reputation system, and they are currently exploring the possibility of having maybe subscriber vendors in locations where you can go and reclaim your lost sub-items. But another idea is that you could maybe buy the same weapon and then go and get it resprayed with a subscriber or concierge-only skin. So lots of options, but they still have to settle on the best one. Next question is, are there plans to make props breakable? Now, they say yes, there are plans, and the system for the breakable props is currently in the works. I really love and appreciate how pretty much every item and prop will be interactable, will be breakable. The idea of finding even something very simple, for example, like a mug that you really like. You could take it and then keep it, and if you break it, you'll then have to find another one. This will make rewards like loot or findable treasure really valuable, even if it's practically worthless. Finding a prop that you want to keep or display because you like the look of it, or it maybe belonged to someone that you took out, it will create this feeling of attachment, especially as we're able to inspect it up close. So I'm excited for this whole system to come together. Next question, how many weapon manufacturers would you say are enough? Now, they said that there will pretty much never be enough manufacturers as the game will continue to grow and expand throughout its lifespan. New manufacturers will give them more range for new styles, and once this game is released to a version 1.0, they will still continue to develop it and produce more items and introduce new manufacturers throughout its lifespan as long as players are playing it. So final question, will we get more wood furnished weapons? And they say again, this is more down to the manufacturers. Same with the leather question, as they expand the manufacturers to custom or non-military weapons, we will likely see more materials being used. And I think it would be quite cool to travel to a frontier town and see a local weapons dealer who customizes his weapons with wooden stocks or leather wraps and then buying them that way. To be honest, there is a lot of scope for them to bring a whole array of variety from all over the verse, so do expect that to expand quite drastically in the future. So that was Star Citizen Live for this week. It was great to hear their plans for future weapons and how both props and weapons will expand in materials and wear and dirt and degradation, but not a great deal of new information, I'm afraid. So also this week, February's subscriber flare was released. The latest lore post was checking out the Gemini weapon manufacturer. Both Squadron 42 and the PU monthly reports were released, but I have already covered the Squadron report, which I have linked in the description below, with the Persistent Universe monthly report coming early next week. And finally, with the release of Alpha 3.12.1 to the live servers, the Xenothreat event has kicked off. Now, this is available for all to take part in over the next week, I believe, and it is a lot of fun, plus a major benefit to CIG for gathering tons of data, testing the capital ships and their AI behavior for obviously Squadron and the future of the PU, plus how missiles and torpedoes work. But most importantly, it introduces new back-end tech in which CIG can share the efforts from all players across every server to actively affect the results of getting the UEE Javelin up and running on every server. So everyone gathering all those boxes from Rex That is a joint effort across every single server to getting that Javelin actually up and running. Now this is a major step to server meshing and the future of the game, so a big hats off to CIG for this, and I cannot wait to see this whole system just evolve. So that brings us to the end of the show. If you do enjoy my content, please consider subscribing and hitting that like button. Also, I am able to do this thanks to my very generous patrons and channel members. If you appreciate what I do and would like to help make it even better from as little as $1 a month, all of the links are provided below.